What if I told you that right now, in this exact moment, thousands of Americans are quietly packing up their entire lives, selling everything they own, and disappearing from the system? Not because they're broke, not because they're running from the law, not because they joined some cult in the woods, but because they woke up one Tuesday morning, looked at their suburban 3-bedroom prison, their 40-year mortgage, their health insurance bill that costs more than a used car, their credit card statements, their commute that steals 2 hours of their life every single day, and said, actually, you know what? No thank you. This isn't a trend. This isn't a phase. This isn't some viral challenge that'll be over by next month. This is a slow-motion exodus from the American dream itself, a quiet revolution happening in parking lots, on dirt roads, in foreign countries, in tiny cabins, in converted school buses, and the wildest part, the most unhinged, difficult to process part, the people doing it are happier, healthier, and somehow spending less money while living objectively better lives than the rest of us who are still here, grinding away, pretending we're fine, pretending this is normal, pretending we chose this. So yeah, before the banks figure out how to repo your freedom, before your HOA bans tiny houses on wheels and starts requiring permits for happiness, before Elon turns this whole thing into a subscription service called Freedom X Premium, let's talk about why normal, regular, everyday people are choosing to walk away from everything we were told mattered, everything we were promised would make us happy, everything we went into debt for. But first, if this video makes you uncomfortable, that's called cognitive dissonance, and it means you should definitely hit the like button, because freedom is cool, but algorithmic approval is cooler. It's just science. Subscribe if you want more truths that make your life choices feel questionable and your decisions feel like mistakes. It's fine. We're all in this together. Sort of. Not really, but emotionally, sure. Let me paint you a picture. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Be honest with yourself for like 30 seconds. You wake up at 6:15 because you have to be at work by 8, which means you need to leave by 7:10 to account for traffic, which means you need to shower by 6:30, which means you need to set 3 alarms starting at 5:50 because you don't trust yourself anymore. Your entire morning is a hostage negotiation with time itself. You shower, you dress in clothes you don't particularly like, but are work appropriate. You grab coffee that tastes like burnt regret. You sit in traffic next to thousands of other people doing the exact same thing, all of you pretending this is fine. You get to work. You answer emails that could have been texts. You attend meetings that should have been emails. You do tasks that feel meaningless but are somehow urgent. You eat lunch at your desk because taking a real break feels like stealing from your own paycheck, like you're cheating the system, even though the system is actively cheating you. 5 o'clock comes. Finally. Freedom, right? Wrong. You commute home. The same traffic, the same brake lights, the same podcast you're not really listening to. You get home at 6. You're exhausted. You have 3 hours of free time before you need to sleep, so you can do it all again tomorrow. Except those 3 hours aren't free. Not even close. You're doing laundry, you're meal prepping, you're paying bills online, you're answering work emails because boundaries are a myth. You're scrolling through your phone trying to feel something, anything, that resembles joy or excitement or purpose. And then, Saturday comes, the promised land, Freedom Day. Except you're too tired to do what you actually want. You sleep in, you run errands, you clean. You prepare for the week ahead like you're packing for war. Sunday is just pre-Monday anxiety with brunch and bottomless mimosas that don't actually help. You're trapped, you're stuck, you're caught in a loop. And the worst part, the truly insane part, you're trapped in a system you're paying for. The mortgage, the car payment, the student loans, the insurance, the subscriptions, the memberships, the upgrade fees, the maintenance costs, the inflation you can't control, the interest rates you don't understand. You're working to pay for the life you don't have time to live. You're funding your own prison, and somewhere deep down, you know it. But you can't say it out loud because that would mean admitting you made a mistake, a big one, an expensive one. Here's the thesis, is the uncomfortable, undeniable, borderline offensive truth that's been sitting under the rug of modern civilization like a dead cat. Nobody wants to acknowledge, but everyone can smell. The American dream isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. It was never about your freedom. It was never about your happiness. It was never about your fulfillment or your purpose or your growth as a human being. It was about your productivity, your compliance, your debt, your consumption, your participation in a system that profits from your exhaustion. And some people finally figured that out, so they left. not dramatically, not with some viral manifesto or TED Talk or Instagram post with a sunset and an inspirational quote. They just quietly untangled themselves from the system, one subscription cancellation at a time, one lease not renewed, one job resignation, one plane ticket, and walked into a different kind of life. A weirder life, a cheaper life, a simpler life. A life that doesn't make sense to anyone, still stuck in the matrix, still plugged in, still convinced that the only path is the one we were sold. And that's what we're unpacking today. The why, the how, the psychology, the math, and the absolutely unhinged reality that it might actually be easier than staying. That leaving might be less scary than what you're already doing. Let's start with the obvious. The thing everyone knows but nobody wants to calculate. Everything got expensive, but not normal expensive. Not, oh, prices went up a bit. Expensive, dystopian expensive. Cartoonishly, absurdly, how is this legal and why aren't we rioting expensive? The average rent in America is now over $1,500 a month, $1,700 in cities, $2,000 plus in major metros. For what? 4 walls and a landlord who takes 3 weeks to fix your toilet and acts like you're asking for a kidney when you request maintenance? A kitchen from 1987? Neighbors who blast music at 2 a.m.? The privilege of not owning anything? A 30-year mortgage means you're paying double the house price in interest alone. You buy a $300,000 house, you pay $600,000 by the time it's yours. You're essentially buying your house twice. Once for the bank, once for yourself. Congratulations, you played yourself. The system won. Health insurance costs more than most people's rent in other countries, and it still doesn't cover anything until you hit a deductible that's basically a down payment on a sedan. $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 before insurance even starts working, and then they still deny your claims. They still call things out of network. They still make you fight for coverage you're already paying for. Car insurance, renter's insurance, life insurance, pet insurance, phone insurance, laptop insurance. We're insuring things that didn't even exist 20 years ago. We're insuring the insurance. It's insurance all the way down. And food. Grocery bills are up 40% since 2020. A bag of chips costs $6. $6 for air and potatoes. A dozen eggs is $5. Chicken breast is $8 a pound. A single bell pepper is $2.50. Going to the grocery store feels like getting mugged in slow motion. Here's the kicker. Wages didn't go up. They stayed flat, stagnant, depressed, like your mental health. Meanwhile, everything else inflated like a bouncy castle at a rich kid's birthday party that you're not invited to but you're somehow paying for. So people did the math, and the math said, you're spending $4,000 a month to be miserable in a place you hate, working a job that doesn't care about you, so you can afford to keep doing it forever until you die or retire, whichever comes first, and statistically, you'll probably die first. And some of them said, what if I just stopped? What if I just didn't do this anymore? And everyone else said, you can't do that. And they said, watch me. This is where it gets weird. This is where the narrative breaks down, because the people who left, they're spending less, way less, like shockingly, uncomfortably, that can't be right, less, and somehow living better, healthier, happier, more fulfilled. They're living in vans, in RVs, in converted buses, in tiny houses on cheap land in the middle of nowhere, in other countries where rent is $300 and healthcare is free, and fresh food is actually affordable. They're house sitting. They're working remotely from beaches in Mexico. They're seasonal workers in national parks. They're building off-grid cabins with solar panels and rainwater collection systems. They're living on boats. They're traveling full-time. And they're doing it for a fraction of the cost. A van conversion costs about 10 grand if you do it yourself. 15 if you pay someone. That's 3 months of rent in most cities. Maybe 4. You own it. You can park it anywhere. Your commute is rolling over in bed. Your backyard changes every week. Your view costs nothing. Some of them moved abroad, to Portugal, Mexico, Thailand, Colombia, Vietnam, Ecuador, places where you can rent a whole apartment for what you used to pay for your phone bill, where healthcare costs $50 for a doctor's visit, where dental work is 90% cheaper, where fresh food is cheap because it's actually local, actually seasonal, not shipped from halfway across the world and marked up 300%. Others went rural, bought cheap land in Montana, West Virginia, Maine, Missouri, Tennessee. 5 acres for 20 grand, 10 acres for 30, built small, lived quiet, stopped pretending they needed a 2-car garage and a manicured lawn and a home office and a guest room for guests who never come. The point is, the alternative isn't as scary as we've been told. It's not as hard, it's not as risky, it's actually cheaper, simpler, more peaceful, freer. But it requires giving up the one thing we've been conditioned to crave more than anything else, more than happiness, more than health, more than time, more than freedom itself, the appearance of success, the performance of having made it, the Instagram aesthetic, the LinkedIn flex, the thing you show your high school friends at the reunion. Here's the dirty secret nobody wants to say out loud, the thing we all know but pretend we don't. We're not staying because we love it here. We're not staying because this life is good. We're staying because we're terrified of what people will think if we leave. We're staying because of judgment, because of shame, because of fear. What will your parents say? What will your friends think? What will you tell people at Thanksgiving when they ask what you do for a living? How do you explain that you're happier living in a van than you ever were in a condo? That you're healthier eating simple meals in Thailand than you were eating takeout every night in Seattle? That you feel more alive working 20 hours a week than you did working 60? The people who left had to get comfortable with being misunderstood, with being judged, with being called irresponsible, reckless, naive, privileged, lazy, with their Aunt Linda calling them lost at Christmas dinner, while she's drowning in credit card debt and Xanax and a marriage she hasn't been happy in for 12 years. They traded the corner office for a sunrise in the desert, the LinkedIn profile for a hand-built cabin, the 2-week vacation for a life that doesn't need escaping from, the salary for time, the security for freedom. The impressive for the meaningful. And yeah, that's uncomfortable, that's hard, that requires courage, because it forces the rest of us to ask the question we've been avoiding. Wait, if they can do that, why am I still here? What am I actually afraid of? Is it failure, or is it realizing I've been wrong this whole time? Let's be clear, let's be direct, let's say the quiet part loud. The economy needs you stuck, it needs you trapped, it needs you in debt, it needs you working 40+ hours a week, spending money you don't have on things you don't need, just to keep the machine running, just to keep the GDP growing, just to keep the shareholders happy. If everyone realized they could live well on $20,000 a year, the entire consumer economy would collapse. No more car loans, no more mortgages, no more credit card interest, no more retail therapy, no more Sunday brunch that costs $40 for eggs and orange juice. No more buying things to feel better about the life you hate. That's why this lifestyle gets framed as fringe, as risky, as alternative, as something only weirdos and hippies and trust fund kids do. Because if it looked normal, if it looked easy, if it looked accessible, millions of people would do it. And the system can't afford that. The banks can't afford that. The corporations can't afford that. The entire economic model collapses if people stop participating. But here's the thing, the secret, the truth they don't want trending. It is normal now. It is accessible. There are entire communities of people doing this. Van lifers, digital nomads, homesteaders, expats, early retirees, slow travelers, minimalists, intentional communities. They have forums, YouTube channels, Facebook groups, meetups, festivals. They're not outliers anymore. They're not weird anymore. They're a movement, a growing, thriving, expanding movement. And it's growing because every year the cost of staying gets higher and the cost of leaving gets lower. Every year more people do the math and realize this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense. This isn't working. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because it's not just about money, it's about identity. We've built our entire sense of self around our job, our house, our car, our stuff. We've confused our net worth with our self-worth. We've let our job title define who we are. When someone asks, "What do you do?" they don't mean as a human. They mean for money, for productivity, for the system. The people who leave have to rebuild their identity from scratch. They have to figure out who they are when they're not defined by their career, when they're not keeping up with anyone, when they're not climbing any ladder, when they're not performing success for an audience that doesn't actually care. And that's terrifying. That's why most people don't do it. Not because they can't afford to leave, but because they can't afford to lose themselves, or who they think they are, or who they've been pretending to be. The irony? The people who leave and rebuild, they find out who they actually are. And usually, they like that person a lot more. And this is just the beginning. This is level 1, because once you realize you don't need the house, the car, the stuff, the status, the job title, the salary, the approval, you start asking other questions, bigger questions, scarier questions. Do I need this job? Do I need this city? Do I need this country? Do I need to work until I'm 65? Do I need to follow any of the rules I was handed? Do I need to participate in any of this? What if I just opted out completely? Some people take it further, way further. They're living on boats sailing around the world. They're on communes. They're in intentional communities sharing resources. They're bartering. They're off-grid. They're homeschooling their kids and growing their own food and raising chickens and building their own houses and completely, totally, entirely opting out of the system we thought was mandatory. The system we thought was reality. The system we thought was the only option. It's not for everyone. It's not easy. It's not always comfortable, but it's possible for way more people than you think. And the fact that nobody talks about it? The fact that this doesn't get taught in schools or discussed at dinner tables or shown in movies or celebrated in the media, that's not an accident. That's the whole point. That's the design. And let's address the elephant. The big, scary word everyone throws around. Security. But what about security? What about retirement? What about health insurance? What about emergencies? Here's the truth. You don't have security now. You think you do, but you don't. Your job can fire you tomorrow. Your landlord can raise your rent. Your insurance can deny your claim. Your car can break down. Your company can go bankrupt. Your industry can get automated. The economy can crash. Again, you're one layoff, one medical emergency, one bad quarter away from losing everything anyway. The security is an illusion, a comfortable illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. The people who left, they built different security, smaller expenses, multiple income streams, skills that travel, flexibility, adaptability, communities, networks, the ability to live anywhere, the ability to need less. That's security, real security, not the kind you pay for, the kind you build. So here's the conclusion. The thing you probably already knew but didn't want to admit. The thing that's been sitting in the back of your mind making you anxious every Sunday night. The life you're living, it's optional, all of it. The mortgage, the commute, the 9 to 5, the debt, the stress, the grind, the performance, the exhaustion, the quiet desperation. It's optional. It's a choice. You're choosing it every day by not choosing something else. And thousands of people are quietly proving it every single day. They're showing that there's another way, a different path, a weird path, a scary path, but a possible path. Now, if this made you mad, good. That means it's working. That means something got triggered. Explore that. If it made you curious, even better, because the next video is about exactly how they're doing it. The money, the logistics, the practicalities, the ugly parts nobody talks about, the failures, the regrets, the truth. Click it now before I send you to live in a yurt in Mongolia with no Wi-Fi and questionable plumbing and a family of goats as your only neighbors. I'm serious. The clock's ticking. Your comfort zone is shrinking. The world is changing. Go. Watch it. Before you talk yourself out of it. Before you convince yourself this doesn't apply to you. It does. It always did. Go.